Let me tell you something that might piss you off. Every time you take something personally, you're acting like a damn child. And I can say that because I spent 50 years watching smart people destroy their own happiness over what some idiots said to them at work. You know what's crazy? Right now, you're probably replaying something someone said to you yesterday, last week, maybe even last year. And it's eating you alive. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. The problem isn't what they said. It's what you're telling yourself about what they said. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to stop this insanity. Look, I'm not here to blow sunshine at you. I'm here to teach you something that actually works. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the exact psychological mechanism that makes you take things personally. Not some vague advice like just let it go or be more confident. I'm talking about a specific proven technique from rational emotive behavior therapy that you can use immediately. You'll learn why your brain automatically interprets neutral comments as personal attacks, how to identify the hidden beliefs that are torturing you, and the precise mental process to break this pattern. This isn't theory. This is based on decades of clinical research and thousands of real cases. Right now, you're probably exhausting yourself. Someone says something, and you can't stop thinking about it. You replay conversations in your head. You imagine what they really meant. You lose sleep wondering if they hate you. You avoid people because you're afraid of being hurt again. And the worst part? You think this is normal. You think this is just who you are. It's not. This is a learned pattern of thinking. And if it can be learned, it can be unlearned. Most people will tell you to build thicker skin or stop caring what others think. That's garbage advice because it doesn't work. You can't just decide to not care. What you can do is change the irrational beliefs that make you interpret everything as a personal attack in the first place. The difference between where you are now and where you could be is understanding one thing. It's not what people say to you that upsets you. It's what you tell yourself about what they said. Change that internal dialogue, and you change everything. I developed rational emotive behavior therapy because I was sick of watching people suffer unnecessarily. And here's what I discovered. Most therapy takes years and barely scratches the surface. But when you go directly after the irrational beliefs causing your emotional distress, you can see results fast. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming rational. It's about stopping the mental torture and starting to live your damn life without constantly worrying about what everyone thinks about everything you do. So let's start with the real problem. When someone says or does something, that's just an activating event. It's neutral, but your brain immediately adds meaning to it based on your beliefs. This is what I call the ABC model. A stands for activating event, B stands for belief, and C stands for emotional consequence. Most people think it causes C directly. They think she ignored me, so I feel rejected. Wrong. Dead wrong. It's your belief about being ignored that creates the feeling. Let me break this down so simple a kid could understand it. A is just what happened. Facts only, like a video recording. No interpretation, no meaning, just the raw event. B is what you tell yourself about what happened. This is where the damage occurs. This is where you add all the meaning and interpretation. And C is how you feel as a result. Anxiety, anger, hurt, depression. All of that comes from B, not A. Here's an example. Your boss says, "I need to talk to you." That's A. Just a statement. A neutral sentence. But what do you immediately tell yourself? That's B. You think I'm in trouble. I did something wrong. I might get fired. He's disappointed in me. Everyone thinks I'm incompetent. And then C happens. You feel anxious. You feel dread. Your stomach drops. You can't focus for the rest of the day. But what if your belief was different? What if it was maybe there's a new project or he wants my input on something? Completely different emotional result from the exact same activating event. You see what's happening here? You're adding meaning that isn't there. Your brain fills in gaps with assumptions and usually negative ones. You project your insecurities onto neutral situations. Let me give you another example. A friend doesn't text back for 3 hours. That's A. Just a fact. But what do you add? You think they're mad at me. I said something wrong. They don't want to be my friend anymore. They're talking about me to other people. I've been abandoned. That's all B. And then C is anxiety, hurt, maybe even anger. But what's the reality? Their phone died. They got busy at work. They saw the message and forgot to respond. They're dealing with their own problems. You created all that suffering from absolutely nothing. This is what I call the personalization trap. Taking things personally means you assume everything relates to you. It's narcissistic in reverse. You're making yourself the center of everyone else's actions and thoughts. But here's the truth that's going to set you free. Most people are thinking about themselves, not you. When someone is rude, it's usually about their bad day, not your worth. When someone doesn't respond, it's usually about their life, not your value as a friend. Now, you might be wondering why your brain defaults to this. There's actually a reason. It's an evolutionary protection mechanism. For our ancestors, it was better to assume danger. Better to think that rustling in the bushes is a tiger than to assume it's just wind and get eaten. So your brain developed this negativity bias. It looks for threats. It assumes the worst. And past experiences create mental shortcuts that your brain uses without asking your permission. If you were rejected or criticized as a child, your brain learned to be hypervigilant to rejection. It sees rejection everywhere, even when it's not there. But here's the problem. This ancient wiring that kept your ancestors alive is now making you miserable in modern life. Someone not laughing at your joke isn't a survival threat, but your brain treats it like one. Your coworker being short with you isn't life or death, but your emotional system acts like it is. You're walking around with a smoke detector going off every time someone makes toast. I remember working with this one client. Brilliant guy, successful career, but absolutely miserable. Why? Because he took everything his wife said as a personal criticism. She'd say, "Can you take out the trash?" And he'd hear, "You're a terrible husband." She'd mention she was tired, and he'd hear, "I don't appreciate anything you do." One day I asked him, "Who told you that's what she meant?" And he just stared at me, like nobody had ever asked him that before. That's when it hit him. He was adding all this meaning that wasn't there. He was creating his own suffering. And you're doing the exact same thing. You don't even realize it. Your brain is wearing dirty glasses. You think the world is attacking you, but it's your lens that's smudged. And until you clean that lens, until you see what's actually happening versus what you're telling yourself is happening, you're going to keep suffering. Now, you might be thinking, "Okay, Albert, I get it. I'm adding meaning. But how do I stop?" That's where most people get stuck. They understand the concept intellectually, but they keep doing it anyway. That's because you haven't identified the specific irrational beliefs running the show. Let me show you exactly what those are. There are 3 major irrational beliefs that make you take everything personally. I call them the 3 must-haves. You must be approved of. Life must be fair. And conditions must be comfortable. These aren't preferences. They're demands. And demands create suffering. Let me explain each one. First is what I call masturbation. Stop shitting on yourself. This is when you say, "I must be liked by everyone" versus "I'd prefer to be liked." You hear the difference? The demand makes you fragile. The preference keeps you stable. Every time you say should or must, you're setting yourself up for emotional disturbance. My coworker should respect me. My boss should recognize my effort. People should be nicer. Those are all demands. And reality doesn't care about your demands. Here's what happens. You walk into work thinking everyone should like me. Then someone doesn't say good morning. And your whole day is ruined. Why? Because reality violated your demand. But if your belief was, "I'd prefer people to be friendly, but I don't need it to survive," then someone not saying good morning is just neutral information. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they didn't see you. Maybe they're dealing with something. Doesn't matter. Your emotional stability isn't tied to their behavior anymore. This demanding thinking is everywhere in your internal dialogue. You just don't notice it. "I should have gotten that promotion. She should text me back faster. They should appreciate what I do. My kids should respect me more." Every single should is a setup for disappointment and resentment. Change those shoulds to preferences. "I prefer the promotion, but I'm okay without it. I like a fast response, but I can handle waiting." See how that changes everything? The second irrational belief is awfulizing, making everything a catastrophe. You don't just think something is bad. You think it's awful, terrible, horrible, the end of the world. This is 0 to 100 thinking. If this person doesn't like me, it's the end of the world. If I make a mistake, it's catastrophic. If I get rejected, it's unbearable. But let's reality check this. Very few things are actually awful. Awful is war. Awful is famine. Awful is death. Awful is serious disease. Someone not liking you? That's not awful. That's inconvenient at most. That's disappointing. That's uncomfortable. But it's not awful. Here's an example. You send a text to someone you're interested in. No response for a day. Your brain immediately goes, "This is awful. They hate me. I've ruined everything. I'm going to die alone." See the awfulizing? But a rational response would be, "It's unfortunate they haven't responded. I don't prefer this situation. But it's not catastrophic. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they're not interested." None of those possibilities are awful. They're just reality. Every time you use words like terrible, horrible, awful, the end of the world, you're amplifying your emotional response way beyond what the situation deserves. And you're training your brain to treat normal life situations like emergencies. Stop awfulizing. Call things what they are. Disappointing, frustrating, inconvenient, unpleasant. Those are accurate. Awful is almost never accurate. The third irrational belief is what I call "I can't stand it-itis." This is low frustration tolerance. You tell yourself, "I can't stand criticism. I can't handle rejection. I can't tolerate disapproval. I can't deal with this discomfort." But here's the truth. Yes, you can. You just don't want to. And there's a big difference. You've stood plenty of difficult things before and survived. You stood awkward conversations. You stood disappointments. You stood failures. You stood heartbreak. You're still here. So clearly you can stand things. What you mean is, "I really don't like this, and I wish it would stop." That's totally different from "I can't stand it." This belief makes you fragile and avoidant. You avoid conversations because you can't stand potential conflict. You don't take risks because you can't stand possible rejection. You people please because you can't stand disapproval. But every time you avoid something because you think you can't stand it, you make yourself weaker. You reinforce the belief that you're fragile. Here's an example. You're about to give a presentation. Your brain says, "I can't stand the thought of people judging me." That belief creates massive anxiety. It makes you want to call in sick. It makes you stumble through your words. But change that belief to, "I don't like judgment, but I can certainly stand it. I've stood uncomfortable things before. I'll survive this too." Suddenly your anxiety drops by 80%. You're not telling yourself, "This is unbearable" anymore. You're telling yourself, "This is uncomfortable but manageable." All three of these irrational beliefs tie into what I call the approval addiction. You've been trained since childhood to equate approval with survival. When you were a kid, parental approval literally was survival. If your parents rejected you, you die. You needed their approval for food, shelter, safety, love. So your brain learned approval equals life, disapproval equals death. But you're not a child anymore. As an adult, approval is nice to have. It's not necessary for survival. You won't die if your boss doesn't approve. You won't cease to exist if a date doesn't like you. You won't disappear if your friend is mad at you. But your emotional system still treats it like life or death. Every time you take something personally, you're essentially saying your opinion of me determines my worth. Your approval determines my survival. That's giving strangers and colleagues godlike power over your emotional state. That's insane. I worked with a client who had full-blown panic attacks before team meetings. Why? Because she believed she must not show any weakness. That was her demand. And every meeting was an opportunity to violate that demand. So she'd spend hours preparing, lose sleep the night before, and then sit in the meeting terrified someone would ask a question she couldn't answer perfectly. The demand created all the suffering. When we change it to "I prefer to do well, but it's okay to not know everything," the panic attack stopped. Just like that. Now you might be recognizing some of these beliefs in yourself right now. Good. Awareness is step one. But awareness alone doesn't change anything. You need to actively dispute these beliefs. And that's what most people never learn how to do. Let me teach you the exact process. Disputation is the active process of challenging your irrational beliefs with logic and evidence. It's not positive thinking. That's important. I'm not telling you to look in the mirror and say I'm amazing and everyone loves me. That's not necessarily rational or true. I'm talking about rational thinking. You become your own therapist. You cross-examine your thoughts like a lawyer. This is the D in the ABCD model. A is the activating event. B is your belief. C is the emotional consequence. D is disputation. And E is the effective new belief you create. Here's how you do it. You use the Socratic method on your own brain. Ask yourself, where's the evidence for this belief? Is this belief logical? Is this belief helping me or hurting me? Let me give you a real example. Your boss gives you one piece of critical feedback. Your belief is my boss thinks I'm incompetent. Okay, let's dispute that. Where's the evidence? He gave one piece of feedback about one project. That's not evidence of incompetence. Is it logical? No. One critique doesn't equal total incompetence. Is it helpful? Absolutely not. It's creating anxiety and making you want to avoid your boss. So what's a more rational belief? The feedback means there's one area I can improve. That's it. Not incompetence. Just information about one specific thing. See how that changes everything? Same activating event. Different belief. Completely different emotional result. There are 3 key questions you need to ask yourself every single time you take something personally. Question 1. Is this belief true? Not does it feel true, but is there actual evidence? Question 2. Is this belief useful? Even if there's a grain of truth, is holding this belief helping you function better? Question 3. What would be a more rational belief? Not blindly positive, but realistic and functional. Let me walk you through a complete example. Someone doesn't laugh at your joke. That's A. Your irrational belief. That's B, is I'm not funny. They think I'm boring. I shouldn't speak up. Now, let's dispute. Is it true I'm not funny because one person didn't laugh at one joke? No. Different people find different things funny. Maybe the joke wasn't great. Maybe they didn't hear it properly. Maybe they were distracted. One non-laugh doesn't make you unfunny. Is this belief useful? No. It's making me self-conscious and quiet. What's more rational? This joke didn't land with this person. That's neutral information. Some jokes work, some don't. I'm still fine. You need to catch yourself in real time. This is critical. The moment you feel that emotional punch when someone says something, pause. That feeling is your signal that an irrational belief just activated. Instead of reacting, ask yourself, what am I telling myself right now? Literally. Out loud if you need to. What's the B in this ABC? Write it down if it helps. What happened? What am I telling myself about what happened? How do I feel? Then dispute the B actively. Challenge it. Cross-examine it. Don't just accept it as truth. This takes practice. Your brain isn't used to this. It's used to automatic thinking. Stimulus. Immediate interpretation. Immediate emotion. You're inserting a step. Stimulus. Pause. Question. Dispute. New interpretation. New emotion. It feels clunky at first, but it gets faster. I promise you it gets faster. After you dispute, you need to create a new rational belief. This is the effective new belief. And this is not affirmations. I'm not asking you to say I'm amazing, or I'm perfect, or everyone loves me. That's not necessarily rational. Rational alternatives are evidence-based and helpful. Let me give you some examples. From I must be perfect to I prefer to do well, but I'm human and will make mistakes. From they should respect me to I'd like respect, but I don't control others' opinions. From this is awful to this is inconvenient and disappointing, but I can handle it. You hear the difference? These are reasonable. These are based in reality. These don't set you up for inevitable disappointment. And here's the key. You need repetition. Your brain has decades of practice with irrational thinking. Decades. You've been running these patterns since you were a kid. You need consistent repetition of disputation to rewire those pathways. Every single time the irrational thought comes up, dispute it. Not once, not twice. Every time, over time, months of practice, the rational belief becomes automatic. Think of it like building a mental muscle. It's weak at first. It gets stronger with use. I had a client, a woman in her 40s, who believed if my mother-in-law doesn't approve of me, I'm a failure as a wife and daughter-in-law. This belief was destroying her marriage. Every family gathering was torture. Every comment from her mother-in-law was analyzed and catastrophized. So we worked on disputation. Is it true you're a failure if she doesn't approve? Where's the evidence? Your husband loves you. You have a good marriage. Her opinion is just one data point. Is it logical? No. One person's approval doesn't determine your entire worth. Is it helpful? God, no. It's creating massive anxiety and resentment. What's more rational? I prefer my mother-in-law's approval, but I don't need it to be a good wife. Her opinion is about her preferences and personality, not my worth. My husband's opinion and my own evaluation matter more. We practiced this disputation every single day for weeks. And slowly, the emotional charge around her mother-in-law disappeared. She could go to family gatherings without dread. She could hear comments without spiraling. The activating events didn't change. Her mother-in-law was still the same person. But the belief changed, so the emotional consequence changed. Now here's where people usually trip up. They do this disputation once or twice, feel better for a moment, and then go right back to the old pattern. Why? Because they haven't addressed the deeper belief underneath everything. Their sense of self-worth. And that's what we need to talk about next. The root of taking things personally is conditional self-acceptance. This means I'm okay if people like me. I'm okay if I succeed. I'm okay if I don't make mistakes. I'm okay if I'm smart enough, attractive enough, accomplished enough. Your worth is dependent on externals. And that makes you fragile as hell. Unconditional self-acceptance means you accept yourself as a fallible human being regardless of performance or approval. You are not your behaviors. You are not others' opinions of you. Let me explain this carefully because it's the most important concept I'm going to teach you. You've been taught your whole life to rate yourself, to give yourself a grade. I'm good or I'm bad based on what you achieve and who approves of you. This is insane. You're a complex human being, not a report card. You contain multitudes. You have strengths and weaknesses. You do good things and bad things. You succeed and fail. None of that makes you globally good or bad. Every time you take something personally, you're essentially saying this person's reaction determines my global rating. My boss's feedback means I'm a bad employee, which means I'm a bad person. My date's rejection means I'm unlovable, which means I'm worthless. See how you leap from one specific situation to a global judgment about your entire being? That's the rating game, and it's unwinnable. Stop rating yourself altogether. Rate your behaviors instead. Not I'm a failure, but I failed at this task. Not I'm stupid, but I made a mistake on this problem. Not I'm unlovable, but this person isn't interested in me. You see the difference? One is a global condemnation. The other is a specific, limited observation. One destroys you. The other gives you useful feedback you can actually work with. You are not your actions. Let me say that again. You are not your actions. You are a person who takes actions. Some good, some bad, most neutral. Separating self from behavior is liberating. When someone criticizes your work, they're critiquing the work, not your fundamental worth as a human being. A chef who makes a bad dish didn't become a bad person. They made one bad dish. That's it. They can learn from it. Make a better dish next time. But their worth as a human didn't decrease. This separation allows you to actually learn from feedback without emotional devastation. If criticism means I'm a bad person, you'll defend against it, deny it, avoid it. But if criticism means this specific behavior could improve, you can actually use that information. You become anti-fragile. Criticism makes you better instead of destroying you. Here's the thing. You are fallible. You make mistakes. You have flaws. You say wrong things. You hurt people sometimes. You fail. You're not perfect. And guess what? Neither is anyone else. This is the human condition. Every single person on this planet is fallible. Accepting your fallibility, paradoxically, makes you more confident. You stop defending against every perceived slight because you're not trying to maintain an image of perfection. You can say, yeah, I messed that up because messing up doesn't threaten your core sense of self. And here's the truth bomb. No one holds the truth about your worth. Not your boss, not your partner, not your parents, not strangers on the internet. Their opinions are just opinions, data points, not verdicts. You can consider feedback without internalizing it as truth about your core self. 10 people can have 10 different opinions about you. They can't all be the truth, right? Their opinions reveal more about them, their values, their preferences, their mood, than they reveal about your fundamental worth. I had a client who was suicidal over a career failure. Suicidal. He'd been fired from a job he'd worked at for 15 years. And his belief was I'm a complete failure as a person. My life is over. I have no value. We worked on separating his self-worth from his achievements. You lost a job. That's it. You're not a failure as a human being. You're a human being who got fired from one job. That's different. Hugely different. It took months. But eventually he got it. He found a new job, started a new career path, and later told me the firing was the best thing that ever happened because it forced him to learn unconditional self-acceptance. He stopped tying his worth to his job title. So here's the practice. When someone says something that feels personal, immediately think this says nothing about my fundamental worth as a human being. This is information about their opinion, their preference, their perspective. That's all. Practice this mantra. Say it in your head. I accept myself unconditionally, even when I screw up, even when others disapprove. This isn't arrogance. This isn't I'm perfect and everyone else is wrong. This is basic self-acceptance. I'm a fallible human. I'm okay. I have worth. Period. You can still want to improve. You can still work on yourself. You can still care about doing well. But you do it from a place of I'm fundamentally okay and I want to get better, not I'm fundamentally flawed and I need to fix myself to be acceptable. That shift changes everything. Okay, so you understand the theory now. You know about irrational beliefs. You know about disputation. You know about unconditional self-acceptance. But how do you actually implement this in daily life when you're in the middle of feeling hurt? Let me give you the practical action steps, the actual system to make this automatic. First, keep a daily ABCD journal. I'm serious about this. Every single day, write down at least one situation where you took something personally. Break it down. A, what happened? Just the facts. B, what did you tell yourself about what happened? C, how did you feel as a result? D, how did you dispute that belief? And E, what's the new effective belief and how do you feel now? This takes 5 to 10 minutes, but it rewires your brain over time. I've seen it work thousands of times. Here's an example entry. A equals coworker didn't say hello when I walked past her desk. B equals she's mad at me. I did something wrong. She doesn't like me anymore. C equals anxious, worried, distracted for the next hour. D equals where's the evidence she's mad? Maybe she didn't see me. Maybe she was focused on something. Maybe she's having a bad day. Even if she is upset, that doesn't define my worth. E equals she might be preoccupied. It's probably not about me. Even if it is, I'm okay. Result, calm, able to focus on work. You do this every day, your brain learns the pattern. Second, use the 24-hour rule. When something bothers you, wait 24 hours before deciding how you feel about it. Most of the meaning you add happens in the immediate emotional reaction. You're triggered. Your amygdala takes over. You're not thinking rationally. Give yourself space to dispute and think clearly. You'll often find that what seemed like a personal attack at the moment was nothing of the sort a day later. This breaks the cycle of immediate reaction, leading to rumination, leading to anxiety. Third, practice the so what technique. When you catch yourself catastrophizing, ask so what. Keep asking until you get to the core fear. Then dispute that core fear. Example, she doesn't like me. So what? Then I'll be rejected. So what? Then I'll be alone. So what? Then I'll be unhappy. Is that true? Can you be happy without universal approval? Yes. Can you have meaningful relationships even if this one person doesn't like you? Yes. Boom. Irrational belief exposed and disputed. Fourth, do the reframe practice. Take situations that bothered you and deliberately generate 3 to 5 alternative explanations. This breaks your brain's habit of jumping to the worst interpretation. Boss seems cold today. Alternative 1, he's stressed about company finances. Alternative 2, he had a fight with his spouse. Alternative 3, he's preoccupied with a big project. Alternative 4, he's having an off day. Alternative 5, this is his normal demeanor and I'm reading into it. Point is you don't know which is true. So why default to he's mad at me? Train your brain to see multiple possibilities. Fifth, build frustration tolerance gradually. Deliberately put yourself in situations where you might face disapproval. Start small. Share an opinion that might be unpopular. Say no to a request. Set a boundary. Notice that you survive the discomfort. This experiential evidence is powerful. Each time you handle disapproval without falling apart, you prove to yourself that you don't need approval to be okay. You build a muscle. I used to deliberately submit papers to journals knowing they might reject them. I gave controversial talks. I said things people disagreed with. Why? To prove to myself I could handle it. And I could. Sixth, memorize rational coping statements. Keep them on your phone. Read them daily. Repeat them when you're triggered. Their opinion is not the truth about me. I prefer approval, but don't need it. This is uncomfortable, not catastrophic. I accept myself even if they don't. These become mental shortcuts when emotions run high. Your brain needs simple phrases to grab onto in the moment. I had a client who used the ABCD journal for 30 days straight. 30 days. Every single day, he wrote down at least one situation, and he completely transformed his marriage. He stopped interpreting his wife's comments as attacks. She'd say, "I wish you'd help more with the kids," and he used to hear, "You think I'm a terrible father." After the journal practice, he heard, "Can you help more with the kids?" Just a request. No global condemnation. Their fights decreased by 90%. She felt heard. He felt less defensive. All because he changed his B. Listen, I know this sounds like a lot of work. And you might be thinking, why should I have to do all this when other people are the ones being jerks? That's a fair question. And it leads me to the final piece you need to understand. Some people resist this approach because they think not taking things personally means letting others get away with bad behavior. That's backwards. Completely backwards. When you stop taking things personally, you actually gain more power. You can respond to situations rationally instead of reactively. You make choices instead of being controlled by emotions. Right now, other people control your emotional state. Someone says something, you feel bad. They have the power. When you stop taking things personally, you take back that power. You decide how you feel based on rational evaluation, not their words. Your boss criticizes your work. Old way, devastated, defensive, anxious, can't sleep, catastrophizing. New way, evaluate the feedback objectively. Use what's helpful, discard what's not. Feel neutral or maybe even grateful for useful information. And you can still have boundaries. This is important. Not taking things personally doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. You can calmly say that's not acceptable without being emotionally destroyed. Actually, you set better boundaries when you're not emotionally reactive. Friend makes a rude comment. Instead of spiraling into "they hate me" and withdrawing, you think that was rude, I'll address it. And you calmly say, "Hey, that comment felt disrespectful. What's going on?" You're not attacking. You're not defensive. You're just clear. That's power. Your relationships actually improve when you stop taking everything personally. You stop being defensive, which makes others less defensive. You can hear feedback without falling apart. You give people room to be human and imperfect. Partner says, "You forgot to do the thing you promised." Old response, "You always criticize me. You think I'm irresponsible. You never appreciate what I do." New response, "You're right. I forgot. Let me do it now." See how that changes the dynamic? No fight. No escalation. Just acknowledgement and action. And imagine the mental peace. Imagine going through your day without constant worry about what people think. No more replaying conversations. No more analyzing tones. No more catastrophizing silences. That mental energy can go toward things you actually care about. Your work, your hobbies, your relationships, your goals. This is what freedom feels like. This is what I want for you. When you don't take things personally, criticism actually makes you stronger. You can extract value from feedback without the emotional damage. You become someone who can handle anything. And this is true confidence. Not everyone likes me, but I'm okay regardless of who likes me. That's anti-fragile. That's solid. I had a client who was able to negotiate a much better salary because she stopped taking the initial lowball offer personally. Before, she would have thought they don't value me and accepted it or gotten angry and walked away. Instead, she thought this is their opening position. It's not a statement about my worth, and calmly countered with data about her value. She got $20,000 more. $20,000 because she didn't take a negotiation tactic personally. Not taking things personally is like cutting the puppet strings. Right now, you're a puppet. Other people pull your strings. They say something, you react. They do something, you feel something. Cut those strings. Move yourself. That's agency. That's power. That's freedom. Let me recap what you now know that most people will never understand. First, it's not what people say or do that upsets you. It's what you tell yourself about what they said or did. That's the ABC model. Activating event, your belief about it, and the emotional consequence. Second, you've got three major irrational beliefs running the show. The demands that you must be approved of, that things must be fair, and that you can't stand discomfort. These are the masturbation, awfulizing, and I can't stand it-itis that creates suffering. Third, you learn how to dispute these beliefs actively. You ask, is it true? Is it useful? What's more rational? This isn't positive thinking. It's rational thinking. Fourth, unconditional self-acceptance is the ultimate solution. You accept yourself as a fallible human regardless of performance or approval. You are not your actions, and no one else holds the truth about your worth. And finally, you got the daily practice. The ABCD journal, the 24-hour rule, the reframe practice, building frustration tolerance, and using rational coping statements. This is your roadmap. Here's what I want you to understand. You have been giving strangers and colleagues godlike power over your emotional state. Every time you take something personally, you're essentially saying your opinion of me is more important than my own rational evaluation. That's insanity. Starting today, I want you to catch yourself every single time you take something personally. And I mean every time. The coworker who didn't say hi. The friend who didn't text back. The person who gave you a weird look. Pause. Ask yourself what you're telling yourself. Then dispute it. This is going to feel uncomfortable at first. Your brain will resist. It will say, but they really are attacking me. That's the old programming fighting to survive. Don't give in. You are not your job performance. You are not other people's opinions. You are not your mistakes or your achievements. You are a human being with inherent worth, regardless of what anyone thinks about you. Now go practice this, because knowing it intellectually does nothing. You have to live it. And if you think taking things personally is destructive, wait until you understand what I call low frustration tolerance. It's the hidden belief that's probably stopping you from achieving everything you want in life. Most people don't even know they have it, but it's the reason you procrastinate, avoid difficult conversations, and give up on your goals. I break down exactly what low frustration tolerance is and how to overcome it in my next video. It's the missing piece that ties everything together. Click it now, and let's finish what we started here. Remember, you don't need anyone's permission to accept yourself. Stop taking things personally and start living rationally. Now go watch that next video.